Where were you born? Just for fun, go ahead and answer in a complete sentence. I was born in Virginia. In other words, my mother bore me in Virginia. Sounds pretty funny, doesn't it? That's because the verb bear, the past tense is bore, and the past participle is born. Just like for the verb wear. We've got wear, wore, and worn. You can see this kid is wearing a costume for Halloween. Have you ever worn a costume? And the same thing is true for the verb tear. Tear, tore, torn. So you can see a pattern happening. So what did I do here? Yeah, I tore the paper. So just to review, with these three verbs you can see a clear pattern. Bear, bore, born. Wear, wore, worn. Tear, tore, torn. So why am I talking about these verbs? Well, it goes back to my original statement. I was born in Virginia. Telling people where or when you were born is a passive statement. You're using the passive when you do that. It's one of the very first things you learn in English. So you actually are speaking in the passive, using passive, right at the beginning of learning English. How do we know it's passive? Think about it. How would we know that this sentence is a passive sentence? We've got a subject here. We've got the verb be here. And we've got a past participle here. This is just a prepositional phrase to tell where. So in short, this is how you form the passive. You've got a subject, you've got your verb be, and you've got the past participle. I was born in Virginia. Here's another example of a passive sentence. Barack Obama was elected president in 2008. So what's our subject? Barack Obama. We've got the verb be in the past tense, and we've got our past participle, elected. So we've got the verb in the past tense was. Why? Yeah, because in 2008. Take a look at how this sentence is different from the previous sentence. Americans elected Barack Obama president in 2008. So we've got our subject here, our verb here, object here, and then the prepositional phrase here. Now the problem is that we don't really want Americans to be the focus of this sentence. We want Barack Obama to be the focus of this sentence. So what do we need to do? So in this sentence, Americans elected Barack Obama president in 2008, we really need to shift our focus. So we need to take Barack Obama, shift him to the subject. We need to somehow say elected president in 2008. Now this Americans piece is going to come all the way to the end, and we'll get back to this in just a second. So now we've got Barack Obama elected president in 2008. This doesn't work. Why not? Well, because elected here, our verb is fine. Americans elected Barack Obama, subject, verb, object. But when we create the passive and make the passive, what do we need? What are the ingredients for passive? We've got our subject. Okay. We've got elected and president. So where's our be verb? We don't have one. Therefore, we're going to add was right in here. Barack Obama was elected president in 2008. Perfect. That's our sentence. Now what we have left over here is Americans. So to make this a passive sentence, we would need to add by Americans. But do we really need to add by Americans? No, we know that it was Americans that elected him president, not Mexicans, not Canadians, not anybody else. He was elected president by Americans. Therefore, because it's obvious, we don't need to add the agent. This here would be called the agent. So what you should see for passive construction, active to passive, is that your object's going to come over here. Your agent, or what was your subject, is going to come all the way over here. Your verb is basically going to drop down, but it's going to shift. The structure is going to shift. So you've got simple past here, and this is going to shift. It needs a be verb, and it needs a past participle. In short, that's it. Okay, so what happens in an active sentence? You've got a subject, a verb, object, and then a prepositional phrase or a preposition here. Well, you need to take your subject, move it to the back here, and you need to add the word by, usually. Then you take your object, and you move it to the front. You bring your verb down, and you're good to go. Almost. But what are you missing? Your verb here is missing the correct structure or form. So you need be, some form of be, which could be is, am, was, were, but some form of be. So then it's be, the be verb plus your main verb there. Now let's see if you can do it. So this guy here is a, how do you say it in English, is a thief. And this is my house. So what do you think the verb is that connects the thief and my house? The verb is rob. So now let's make an active sentence with thief, rob, my house. I would say a thief robbed my house yesterday. Got a subject, verb in the past tense, object, and this is my preposition or prepositional phrase. But technically, any person that steals things or breaks into your house is a thief, so we already know that. So the focus really should be on my house, right? So now your job is to go ahead and make this a passive sentence because most people would use this in the passive form. Okay, so hopefully this is what you did. But now this is still too messy. We don't really need this. This should be your final correct sentence. My house was robbed yesterday. We don't need to say by a thief because it's either obvious or it's unknown, but it's obvious in this case. And our focus is on my house. My house was robbed yesterday. So hopefully you have a better understanding now, or at least some understanding of how we transform an active sentence to a passive sentence.